Okay, so the latest challenge that I am facing on my DIY 5-story multi-generational passive ICF house that I'm building mostly on my own is over my shoulder. You can see I've got some I-joists that are on the ground. I need to get them, they're 32-foot long I-joists. I need to get them 35 feet up to the top of this 5-story building. And it is just me because most of the time I'm solo building this thing. So how do I pull it off? Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and shoot the video to show you how I do it. I've shot some other videos with some more details, but I'm actually gonna leave the camera running so you can actually see these last two I-joists get up there. You can see I've got a bunch of my rafters / I-joists already installed, but I need to get these remaining ones up there. Obviously the easiest way to do it is just hire a crane, but when you're short on money, you do what you gotta do to make it happen. So in this case, it's doing it kind of a redneck way. I don't necessarily recommend that anybody else does this, but it is possible, and I'm going to show you how. And like I said, I've shot some other videos on with some more details. For anyone who is willing to stick around to the end of the video, I'm actually going to share some details. 3 of the critical details that you need to be aware of when you're designing a home that, like mine, you want to last for 500 years or 1,000 years. And if you stick around to the end of it, I'll share what those 3 absolute critical details are that you need to make sure that you take into account in building a home. So without further ado, let's get going. All right. Set it up on my handy dandy rock and wood tripod, because like I said, there's nobody here to film it. So, all right, here goes. So hopefully I'm in the picture frame. So I just remembered with the electric hoist that I purchased, technically it says I need to wait 8 minutes in between lifts because, yeah, it's just like a $150 hoist from Harbor Freight. So I thought I'd go ahead and share with those of you who made it this far, what are the 3 most critical building details that you got to get right if you want to have your home last at least 500 years. So number 1 has to do with the thing that's setting in the distance, and that is the sun. And there's a couple things specifically with the sun, one of which is UV, because UV tends to degrade the exterior of your home, all of the caulks, the sealants, the exterior siding, etc. So you need to be really careful when it comes to choosing what you're going to put on the outside of the house. Number 2 also has to do with the sun, and that has to do with the thermal differences between hot and cold. So heat kills homes and the cold kills the homes, and as it goes in between, it weakens things. So you need to design your house around the fact that there's going to be thermal differences, and you need to take that into consideration. And then the last one, the most important one, the one that kills homes faster than anything else besides fire. We're not going to cover fire, but that is water. And it isn't just the water that falls from the sky, but it's also the water that shows up from vapor that is filled with water, and it condenses. And so if you don't get that one right, then you end up killing your homes, and that's why you end up with a lot of problems with homes. So be sure to include how you're going to deal with the UV, how you're going to deal with the thermal differences in terms of the heat and the freezing, and how you are also going to deal with water. So with that said, I think it's been about enough time. And besides that, it's the last joist that I need to do. So this electric hoist only needs to last one more. So for those of you who stick around and watch the last one, I'll also give you another bonus tip in terms of building a 500-year home, and specifically I'll talk about one of the choices of siding that we're going to do that has been proven to last over 1,000 years. And so I'll be back in a few minutes. Well, that's it. That's how one person can get, in this case it was 16 I-joists for my roof rafters, 35 feet by myself. So as I promised, I'm gonna give you one more little bonus tip. For those of you who cheated and fast forwarded all the way to the end, I actually covered what the 3 most important building science details are that you have to take into consideration if you're trying to build like in my case, a 500-year multi-generational home. Or actually I'm shooting for 1,000 years. But what I'm about to share, let me give you some bonus views too. What I'm about to share is actually a proven exterior siding that has lasted over in Japan well more than 1,000 years. So obviously you've got the Romans who did their concrete structures that are still here 2,000 years later. And this is 1 million pounds of concrete. Unfortunately, our today concrete mixture is not nearly as long lasting and as strong as what the Romans came up with, which is kind of interesting. But so I'm going to need to protect this concrete from the heat and thaw cycle, as well as the water. So the insulation on the outside of the concrete, that's going to protect it from the heat and the cold, that thermal bouncing back and forth between freezing and heating. So that's going to protect that. But in terms of the water, what do you do to protect the water, and what to do to have a decent siding so that the neighbors don't complain to the city, because I'm sure they wouldn't be too happy. Plus, I don't think this EPS foam would last for 1,000 years. So what they do over in Japan that they have put on the outside of some of their temples that they've built is yakasugi, or also known as shoshugiban, which is basically just burnt cedar. And as it ages, there's a philosophy in Japan, in the Japanese language. I can't remember the name of the word, but it's a beautiful concept, which basically means that as you age, you change, and that's okay, and that's beautiful. So the boards of the yakasugi or shoshugiban that they put up well over 1,000 years ago don't look the exact same as what they did, but they have lasted. And even the ones down on the coast, so being exposed to that salt water, vapor and moisture in the air, they've lasted. So that's actually what we're going to do on 1/3, because I really like the look of it, and at least during my lifetime, it's probably going to look awesome. We'll have to see what the future generations think of it. But yeah, so about 1/3 of the front is going to be black yakasugi and shoshugiban, and then after that we're going to transition over to metal. So bad news for my future posterity, the metal doesn't last for 500 years. So somebody at some point is going to have to remove the metal, but hopefully by then you guys will have AI robots and stuff that'll do all the work for you instead of me. I just got to do it with my 2 hands. But I'm sure there'll be some sort of other siding that you guys can put up that has that'll last the full 500 years or the full 1,000 years. So anyways, be sure to like and subscribe so you can follow along on this crazy journey as I continue to build this 5-story multi-generational passive ICF house. And thanks for watching.